So, we're going to move on from in my house in Freckleton, the house I really remember growing up in. Which is another terrace house. I grew up in Fleetwood. If anyone knows the town, you know, it has a bad rep. As a child, I did move from Fleetwood to Thornton, and got made fun of a lot because of how I sounded. Because, you know, I'm a Fleetwood lad. All these houses have kind of, despite being terrace, they have kind of metal gates around them. I don't know why. They don't really have gardens. They've all got yards. Very Victorian thing, but there's big it's one of those very few streets in Fleetwood that has kind of trees on it. It was originally designed to be the grand masterpiece street of the town. By Decimus Burton, who was a big London architect, was asked by the Hesketh Fleetwoods to design kind of a model town. The town really exists because at the time they started building the town, the wouldn't let them build a railway through Cumbria in the north of England. So what you had to do is you had to get a train to here in Fleetwood, and then you would, to go north, you'd get on a paddle steamer and you'd go from there. But this is my house. It's kind of third one along from the end. Around the corner there's a hairdresser's that was there when I was a kid. It's still there now. So it's kind of survived everything from multiple recessions to COVID. I think it's still owned by the same person too, so there it was. You know, 30 odd years ago, almost 40 years ago. Obviously they'll probably be looking at retirement in the next few years. So yeah, what you can't tell about this house is my parents haven't lived here since over 30 years. We moved out of this house. And it has a basement, and the basement used to kind of be, as a child, sorry, let's put the date, had a big gaming table in. Let's change that. basement had a gaming table in for my father's miniatures, because he was he liked war games, so he had a big, cheaply made table. His hobby. He'd been doing his hobby a long time, so despite the fact we had no money, he had models. And also my grandfather built me a woodworking table as a small child. It had a vice and drawers and all that jazz. And, you know, I loved it. I was disappointed when we moved out of this house because although they'd taken this table down to the basement, they refused to bring it up out of the basement when we moved house, so I had to leave it behind. But what's really funny is the house has been on and off for sale for the last few years. And a lot of the additions that my grandfather made to the house are still there. Like, there's a window seat that he made and things like that. And it looks very much like it did when I was a child, except a lot more cluttered and different storage and things. But yeah, it seems weird. So this house was an amazing place to live. For the most time we lived there, I was one of three. We had kind of 4 bedrooms, so I didn't have to share a room. It looks pokey from the outside, but from the inside, you know, it was quite big inside. And like I say, because I had a woodworking bench in the basement, I would spend time down there disassembling things that I shouldn't be disassembling, putting them back together again. I learnt a lot of skills. Because we had a TV, we only had the one, and children's TV wasn't really a thing. When we went on holiday, we didn't go on holiday, which was weird when we moved, you know, a couple of towns away, and the kids all there went on holiday. So we moved to Thornton, and the kids all there went on holiday. Like, what's going on holiday? You know, Fleetwood was an amazing place. We'd spend days up the road on the park or on the beach, because, you know, it's just a short walk from the beach. Or playing in the back alley, because I had a lot of friends who lived along this stretch. A lot of my friends who lived along this stretch, dads were fishermen. They're definitely not anymore. I've long since lost touch with those people. I do still have friends from when I was in Fleetwood. But only one of them really lives locally, so. One of the preschools I went to is just across the road here. I say it was. There's still a school there, but they knocked down the school and the building where the preschool was. It's like the hospital I was born in, long since been knocked down. It makes me feel old when you start talking about, oh, it's like the place where my sister went to preschool, which is further down the street. She didn't go here, even though it's just across the road from our house. Because this is a Catholic one, and we weren't Catholic. So, you know, you weren't usually supposed to go to a Catholic school then if you weren't Catholic. Like I said, I went to the preschool and then I moved to a school down the road. But I went to 2 preschools in this town, and both of them have since been knocked down. It makes me feel old. But the preschool my sister went to was built. Sorry, just the fire service going past. Still, the preschool my sister went to was built specifically for the year that she went to preschool. And no longer exists anymore because they've already knocked it down. Like I say, it wasn't really that old. It was kind of mid-80s build. And it's long since knocked that down. You know, I went to school and they finished building it. She started. Which is the reason why they knocked down my one of my preschools. They knocked down my preschool across the road here because they built a whole new school on the same site. But yeah, things have changed, but not a lot. But I moved back to Fleetwood in the last few years. So did my sister. I've got a brother, but he doesn't. He lives in the States, so. That's what happens when you've got a successful sibling. I'm just happy we've got a roof over our heads, really. So, you know, we have a mortgage, which we are paying off, though very slowly. Because I worked for quite a few years. I had a full-time job working at a school. Taught DT, although I'm a qualified art teacher too, which I've mentioned in some of my videos. it's more about just having a place for my kids to live and them being happy and comfortable. But, you know, this town has a bad rep. Well, like I say, in yesterday's video, it ain't as rough as where I lived for several years. For 18 months. The only issue we get is in the evening that the teenagers like to knock a door in. It's you kind of get used to it after a while. Rather live here than somewhere we can't afford. When it was up for sale, I did, have a look at it, but a bit weird moving to the house where your parents used to live. And plus, we've already settled there. So. The advantage of London Street, though, is that it has trees. The closest tree to here is across the road. And, if you get out windy, I'm worried that these trees will blow over. I lived through the Great Storm that was in Fleetwood in the 80s. Though the trees swayed, it didn't sway as much as all the slates on the roof. I remember worrying about my grandmother though, because she was old and frail. But when I look at it now, she wasn't that old. She would have been 66 at the time. Which, like I say, isn't that old. My father's older than that now. She used to tell stories of the war because she'd been alive during the Second World War, and my father served in the First World War. I always find it odd to think that that kind of my great-grandfathers on my father's side were Victorian. By definition, that were born in the Victorian era. And helped raise my father, who has, unsurprisingly, really old-fashioned values. All the time died out. No. So this is almost done for another day. Like I say, it's this one here. That's my house. So we were mid-terrace for a long time. Like I say, I used to play in the back alley or up the street. It was a nice place to grow up. Anyway, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.